Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new, technically non-episode. Me and Anthony haven't gone live in about, I think, a year now. I was checking the
Oh
stats.
yeah.
So, welcome everybody in. I just got to make sure we're live on Instagram. We're gonna be live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch for the next 2 hours. So, um,
Yes, sir.
everyone's flooding in here. Let me just put up before we start. Make sure everyone we're at 90 subs right now on YouTube. We're about 10 subs away from 100, so we'd appreciate it if you
Sweet.
check us out over the top talk on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you want to follow us. But make sure on YouTube, drop a sub. We're only 10 away from 100, so with that, we can get right into SummerSlam and just general thoughts, Anthony. How'd you like the event night one and our first SummerSlam night one and night two?
Um, well, in my opinion, I think this is an all-timer. I think this show all around, both nights combined, some of the most enjoyable matches, storytelling that I've seen. I feel like it flowed very well. I was looking forward to it every night, and I think the expectations I had for this were actually blown out of the water. I think my expectations, like this show, fully fully topped what I was expecting, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and I really like the. I mean, if I were to pick a night that was better, I'd probably pick night two, just because the matches were a little bit better. I didn't.
I
Night
agree.
one was had its own, good moments, but night two was just awesome. But we'll start with night one. The first match of the night, where we saw Roman Reigns take out Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and honestly, it was a great start to SummerSlam. I mean, a lot of good moments. Roman Reigns, we haven't seen him jump over the top rope and do a
Oh
flip
yeah.
for in a long time, so that was a very fun sight. Also, we saw Bronson Reed, do a full speed jump through the ropes. That was, I think, first time we've ever seen that.
Hmm.
Obviously, almost there was a lot of spots there that lots of injuries were could have happened, but they made it out. And what are your general thoughts on this match?
Well, I agree with almost everything you said here. I think the match, what a great match to start the show off with. Both teams, they came out with good energy. The beginning of the match, I liked how it was kind of a normal tag team match at first. Mostly in ring action, just showing what they can do. But the second half of the match was, oh my god, incredible. We had them outside of the ring a lot. We saw that amazing announce table spot. Well, where Braun Breaker like jumps from the ring. Roman moved and he clipped his knee. Hopefully he's good there. I think he was rumored to have an injury, but he came out last night on Raw and he was looking pretty good, so that's good. But through the barricades, the big spear from Roman, Jay's just looking great. Everyone looked great in this match, and it was a great showcase of all four men. And I think it's gonna lead to even further things down the line with this group.
Yeah, and as of right now, I guess after talking about Raw for a little quick second there, Roman Reigns probably going to be out for a while. We know he's making his new movie. I think Cody Rhodes is in the same movie, I believe,
Yep, Street Fighter.
but I think we'll see Cody a lot more than I think Roman we won't see till about maybe the build up, probably the build up to Survivor Series. I could see Jay will still be in that storyline with the Bronze and Seth. I would assume we didn't see him last night, but I'm
Mhm.
assuming he'll still be in that storyline. I don't see him leaving anytime soon.
Yep.
And kind of moving on to, I think one of not the I'm not gonna say the worst match of SummerSlam, but I really didn't like this. Sami Zayn, Karen Cross. I think Sami Zayn winning here, I don't think was the right decision, especially if you're trying to make Cross look like an actual, puppet master, I guess you can call him. Having him lose really just took his momentum away. I don't really understand why they took his momentum away. Obviously, we saw that moment with Sami Zayn in the pipe. I think
Yep.
everyone knew he wasn't really going to use it. We've seen Sammy kind of have this conflict before, whether he's going to turn into the bad guy or not. I don't know if this was our first early glimpses, but off of this match. The only question I have for you: do you think Karrion Kross is finished with WWE, or do you think he's going to continue with the company?
That's actually a tough question. When we came off this match, I felt like it was relatively weak as well. This was their rubber match, the third match they've had. And I thought it was pretty slow. I thought it, was kind of like the same as their last match. Um, and yeah, I was kind of confused on why Sammy won because my thoughts going in was that could Sammy win this match with Cross looking great? But no, it wasn't a great showcase of either men. Um, I feel like it was a slow match, like you said, and it was kind of like I don't know, it wasn't great. But going off your question, what you said about do I think Cross stays in the company? My personal thing is hopefully. I hope he stays. I hope he stays around. Sixth round gets better, bigger feuds. But if he is having difficulties, disagreements with creative, doesn't like where his character is going. Like I can support him leaving and going to another company, maybe rebuilding himself for a few years. Because I know he's getting up there in age, but like if he can get like a few more years of like what he wants to do, what he wants to create, like I gotta support that. And if he can go rebuild himself, then I'll be happy for him.
Perfect. And I'm just reading the Instagram chat. Someone asked how we feel about Brock Lesnar, but we'll get into
Oh
that
yeah,
later
we'll we'll,
on.
we'll definitely get into that
We'll
later
get to
on.
that. I can't pull the Instagram chats up, but I definitely see you guys on Instagram. So, moving on to a match, I think it was the second match after Roman, but I was kind of surprised we had two tag team matches back to back. But
Hmm.
I really liked the decision making here. I mean, I think on the predictions video, I think I had Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss winning.
Yep.
I liked this new tag team. I like how they're kind of starting to make chemistry a little bit. We saw we saw a moment where we thought Charlotte might have, hit Alexa Bliss, but then she ended up kicking. I think it was Raquel
Yeah.
Rodriguez. I think, yeah. And they picked up the win, which I think is an amazing decision. I really like these two. We saw the rematch last night between this team, Darren Raw, and obviously Alexa Bliss being like a huge, almost spotlight, I guess you can call it, in these two matches. Obviously, Alexa Bliss pinning Roxanne last night. How do you feel about these two having the titles, and kind of about the kind of direction of the women's tag team division right now?
Well, about them having the belt, I love that. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, two of the best workers that the woman division has. I think it's absolutely incredible that they have it. They're going to put on great matches down the line. I could see them holding this belt for a long time. Personally, I think they're going to hold it for a while. Or, like we said, we saw Alexa Bliss accidentally punch Charlotte, and we thought maybe Charlotte would come up, get some redemption, kick her, but no, she ends up kicking Raquel, and they win the titles together. I think that was some foreshadowing for the future. I think we're definitely gonna get Charlotte versus Alexa at some point down the line. I don't know if they're gonna wait until the new year, if they build that feud like past Rumble, past like do that into like a Mania season, or if they run that sooner. They run it going into like October, November, and have that like a match at like Survivor Series. I don't know, but right now I do love the chemistry they have. Obviously, they've been working together for many years now, probably a decade plus. Um, so seeing them work together, awesome. And I hope they just keep on building this division around them, because we've talked in the past how the women's tag team division was kind of weak. There wasn't great teams in there. Like when Bianca and Jade were champions, we were saying that they don't have much competition because the division was weak. But now, if they want to kind of backtrack and build the division around these ladies, they can really do that, make it stronger, make it thrive. So I'm happy to see that, and hopefully is a bright future down the line.
Perfect. And obviously, for the people, I don't have it streaming, but on TikTok, if you guys want to tune in, we're on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram right now. Over the top talk, no spaces, and you guys can watch on there. I wish I could stream it normally, but it wouldn't let me. So moving on to the next match here, we have Logan and Drew McIntyre taking out Randy Orton and Jelly Roll, which I was honestly very shocked that they had Logan Paul win.
Hmm.
I honestly kind of like how they did it because usually you see whenever they have celebrities, in matches, they usually don't lose. And I mean, shout out to Jelly Roll. I mean, he might have not been the best performer, but I mean, he took a huge. I mean, he
Oh
didn't just
yeah.
go out there and pick up a paycheck. He took a huge beating. Obviously, that cool
Hmm.
spot. Logan had the meta glasses on, and just completely put Jelly Roll through a table. Shout out to Jelly for actually taking that spot because there's a lot of people that wouldn't. But yeah, I'm shocked they had Logan Paul take out Jelly Roll. I don't know if there's. I honestly don't know what they're gonna do with Logan Paul, Drew, and Randy at this point.
Hmm.
I don't know if I don't think they're gonna use Jelly Roll anymore. I don't know if that was only like a one-time thing. I would highly doubt they use Jelly Roll again. But
Hmm.
where do you think? I guess the only question coming out of this match is with Logan Paul, Drew, and Randy. Do you think they keep the storyline going with Randy, Logan, and Drew? Well, I guess you can
Hmm.
say Logan Paul, Drew against Randy, or do you think they're gonna go like a different direction?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but after the match, like the next day, Jelly Roll said he's coming back. He said he's coming back to get his revenge on them. So I actually do think that we're gonna see Jelly Roll again. I think he's gonna come back, and I think they might run this match back one way, or maybe they'll have a one-on-one Jelly Roll versus Logan Paul. But first things first, I want to say is shout out to Jelly Roll for the work he put in. He kind of um he was like doubted by like the whole everybody. Like everyone was saying his match is gonna suck, blah blah blah. But it was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was like really entertaining. I personally think Logan Paul was the MVP of this match. I mean, you saw the crazy spots that he did. He was taking some bumps. Of course, that announce table spot. He's done that before in the past, but him just jumping from the post all the way down to the announce table is just, oh my god, it's something to see. It's incredible. So hopefully we get more of this. But what you were saying about the storyline, I could um I could see them kind of building up Logan Paul and Logan and Drew McIntyre as kind of a tag team in the division on their own, kind of maybe go after titles or whatever. And then out of nowhere they get surprised by like Jelly Roll again. He comes out of nowhere saying he wants his revenge, he wants his get back on them. We heard him say that he's on his weight loss journey. It's incredible. He's below 300 for the first time in his life. I'm really happy for him. So maybe further down the line, when he's like further down this weight loss journey, he'll like make another return again, give us all an update on how it's going. And while he's giving the update, he comes in for another match. So I think that would be really cool.
And yeah, obviously, shout out to Jelly Roll. Like you said, I honestly didn't know that he might be back. I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of want to see a one-on-one between him and Logan. I mean, I wasn't too fond of the performance like in the ring, but
Hmm.
I think for what it's worth, seeing Jelly Roll put in the work he did in SummerSlam, he really does deserve another at least shot, and we'll see where Jelly Roll and Logan Paul go,
Hmm.
and kind of switching gears there to the women's championship where you saw Tiffany Stratton defeat Jade Cargill, and I don't know if it's just me, but I think this is one of Jade's best matches, so like singles match at least so far.
Yeah.
I think she put in really good work. I think Tiffany taking the win here was the correct decision. I think I think Michael Cole said she was 14-0. I think
Yeah.
total. I don't
That's
know if
incredible.
just singles or with the title, but being
Hmm.
14-0, I really don't know who's gonna take her out at this point. She's obviously taken out. I mean, Tiffany's put in the work. I mean, she beat Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill. She's kind of on a run right now, kind of just taking out all the top people.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Jade, obviously. Depending on what happens on SmackDown, she might ask for a rematch. We might see new competitors. What do you kind of want to see with this Tiffany Stratton title run? Would you like to see a
Um,
rematch or something like newer?
Personally, I would like a rematch. I wish their match at SummerSlam was a bit longer. I don't know if you noticed that the match was really short. So I wish they got more time to showcase them. I wish they had a good more, a much more physical long match. I could definitely see them running it back, but I do want to see more competition between, with Tiffy and this belt. But I don't know. I feel like they might wait until Bianca Belair comes back and she's more in the mix. Obviously, she has her broken finger. She's out of action for a little bit, but when she comes back and she's back in the mix, her, Naomi, Jay Cargill are like they're that in that circle still of like they have a damaged relationship ever since the tag team championship days with them. So hopefully maybe we can touch on that again, or maybe we can kind of go into something new. But definitely, I would want to see a rematch between them. See more, maybe even like a DQ would be no DQ match would be great. Just like have a physical bout between them two. Awesome. I would love to see that.
And yeah, I'm excited to see where, obviously I like seeing Tiffany Stratton in the ring. I think she's one of the top, she is one of the top, I guess you can say, woman performers right now. I don't really like her too much on the microphone, but I guess you can say that about a lot of people in the WWE right now. But as far as
Mhm.
in ring performance, Tiffany Stratton always puts on good matches. Looking forward to seeing this SmackDown, see if they start the rematch. Whether we see that, I don't know if it's going to be at Clash because I know we already have Naomi versus Stephanie Valkyr. That was one of the matches announced last night. So I don't know if we're going to see two of the women's titles like get defended. But moving on to which was the main event of night one was CM Punk, obviously taking out Gunther. Obviously, this was like a long match. I think it was like 20, not 20 minutes. It was like close to like 30, I think. I'm not a huge fan of the style of wrestling that they, put on, with like the chops, making CM Punk look kind of weak the whole time.
Mhm.
Um, I have my own critiques, maybe even the ending. I don't really understand Gunther taking like kind of like a trip on the announcer's table. Then his face is like all messed up. I don't think that was the right call to have all that blood, but I guess it kind of makes sense because or I guess there was reports before SummerSlam that he would need surgery anyways. So I guess they kind of used all that blood to try and push the injury a little bit more, make
Mhm.
it reasonable for him to miss time. Obviously, CM Punk hitting Gunther with two GTSs, which ended the match. But we thought, well, I guess a lot of us thought Seth Rollins was going to come back, but we ended up seeing after like I think Punk had the title for like 5 minutes 20 seconds, and Seth
Yeah.
Rollins' music hits. We see him come out. Um, I know people in our little group chat that we had still thought Seth was injured, but I knew they weren't going to bring him out for no reason.
Oh yeah.
Especially with night one, kind of they wanted like a huge event to main event it. We see him, Aura Farm push off his crutches. Crowd went absolutely nuts. He runs down, takes out Punk like 8 times with the briefcase, then ends up cashing, and they call it, I think, the ruse of the century. I think Michael Cole called it. I think that's what they're calling it, the ruse of the century. Um, it's kind of cool that that moment also happened. I think like almost 10 years, probably 10 years since his heist of the century.
Oh yeah.
Um, I guess this leads to the question: what is the future for the world title? I know we saw kind of I think we all know we're gonna get a triple threat between LA Knight, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, probably
Hmm.
at Clash, I would assume. But my question is, do you think Seth Rollins is gonna hold the? How long do you think he's gonna hold the title? Do you think it's gonna be like a next year's Mania thing, or do you see him dropping it
Hmm.
before next year's Mania?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to say about the match that they had before. CM Punk versus Gunther. I personally love the match. I did love their style of wrestling. I love the slow burn beating that Gunther lays on people. You know, he just chops them, hits them with power bombs, just kind of counters all their moves, and just like watches them suffer as he like goes in for more. Um, Again, I know that was kind of their plan here to find a way to write Gunther off TV for a little bit. I did hate how his head was clearly busted open up here, and they were saying it was his nose, which was kind of funny to me. I know that that didn't make much sense, but the cash in obviously incredible. Poor CM Punk only got a 5 minute reign, but hopefully we get this amazing this Seth Rollins run. Um, I think going off your question, I think we're gonna get a decent time run with Rollins as champion. He was the first world champion of this new belt, and he carried it for a while, and it was a great run. I don't know what their plan is here. I have a few thoughts. Like you said, the triple threat match that's probably going to happen. Do they give LA Knight the belt? Obviously, we heard that the fans were outraged outside during the post show. I heard the fans cheering LA Knight, LA Knight. Triple H didn't even respond to that. So maybe they have plans for LA Knight that they don't want to say yet. Maybe he wins. Or my other idea was they break up this vision group quicker than we thought. What if Braun Breaker does turn on Seth Rollins? He gets jealous of the run, he gets jealous of the reign, and he turns on him, and we have Braun Breaker as a champion. I don't know if they're gonna do that yet. Sometimes they kind of, hint at that when they kind of like peek at the champion a little bit. They look at the belt in a weird way, or like if Seth Rollins retains the belt at Clash in Paris, if they run the match there, and maybe Braun Breaker is the one to hand Rollins the belt in kind of a weird way, kind of like saying, "I want my shot at this" or whatever, and that kind of foreshadows that match because that's definitely, in my opinion, going to happen. Come on, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker would be incredible. So hopefully we see that down the line. But before that happens, I think we're going to get a maybe 5 6 month long reign, because if you remember, Roman, Cody, now Gunther, and Cena apparently are taking time off for a little bit. So Rollins is going to really have to step up here. He's going to be like the number one right now. He's going to have to carry the show for a little bit, so they can kind of tell some great stories with him now. They can kind of tell the Braun Breaker story, the LA Knight story. They can dive deep into that stuff. So hopefully we get some good storytelling, and I really can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and just before we get into the, night two events, I guess I should say, for anyone that's tuning in, whether it's TikTok right now, Instagram, we're on Twitch and YouTube too. We're only about 10 subs away now from 100 subs. We've been grinding out, getting out interviews, content, different rails. Probably Instagram's our most active, platform right now. With I think we have like 100,000 views over there. But we'd appreciate if you guys dropped a sub. We've been grinding away, much more to come. And yeah, we're only 10 away, so links should be in. I think I put them in all the descriptions. But moving on to our night two with start off the show with a triple threat match. Obviously, Naomi taking the title, which a lot of people I think were expecting this. I think if her reign ended, it would be kind of pointless to even have her cash in. And honestly, Naomi as a heel right now is putting on some of her best work at the moment. So I think having her keep the belt was obviously smart.
Mhm.
Um, Now, as far as the match went, I think it was one of those matches matches, top matches. We saw a similar match at Mania. Obviously, switched Naomi out with Bianca Belair, but it was like the same kind of match. I think it was a good way to start night two. If I were comparing the Mania one to SummerSlam, which I don't really like to do, I would probably still take the Mania match that they had. But I think the
Mhm.
SummerSlam match was close to that. Saw a lot of spots, good moments. And yeah, what are your general thoughts about this match before we kind of get into Naomi's future, I guess?
Yeah, I thought the match was good. I thought it was really good. Like you said, I don't like comparing matches either. I like kind of taking in the match for what it is, and for what it is, I think it's incredible. I think it was a good match to start off night two. Obviously, we know these three women here have great chemistry with one another. Naomi, Rhea, and Io. Come on, they put on banger matches, in my opinion. Um, but I thought maybe they could have done a little bit more with the match. I don't know if that's me just kind of hating, but I did love it. I don't want to sound like I'm hating, but maybe if we saw like more spots. The one like critique that I have about the match is I felt like it wasn't really a triple threat. One woman was always like out more. One like two were in fighting a lot. Like it was like Rhea versus Io for a while, and then Naomi came in, and then one was out there. I wish they kind of had a more physical, real triple threat where each woman were kind of going at each other, each kind of going like one like actually having a real physical triple threat. But that's like my only critique. Other than that, I think it was a great match, really enjoyable, really good first match. So maybe we'll get more down the line.
And kind of talking about, I guess, Naomi for a second. She has a pretty busy schedule, I think, coming up. I think they said, I think next week on Raw, I think if I'm saying this right, she's taking on, I think, Io Sky next week.
Yep.
And then obviously, depending, I couldn't see her dropping the title. Then we go to Clash of Paris, and she's taking on another huge opponent, Stephanie Valkyr,
Hmm.
which that's a prediction for a whole. We'll have those predictions soon, depending on what happens there. I don't think that one's a definite Naomi win, but then again, she's a brand new champion,
Hmm.
so I guess kind of the same with the Seth Rollins question. How long do you think Naomi has the title for, and who do you think she drops it to?
Well, you know, her versus Io, I think that's gonna be great next week on Raw. But her versus Stephanie Valkyr is gonna be a difficult one. Obviously, Valkyr is, in my opinion, one of the best stars they have on the show. So I don't know if they're gonna find a way for if Naomi were to retain in that match. I don't know how they would do it without burying Valkyr. I don't think they would, but personally, I think she drops it to Valkyr. I think she drops it at Clash in Paris right there. I think Valkyr is gonna be the new champion. She can put on banger matches. I know she hasn't won any of the titles on the main roster, but come on, like she doesn't need it. She's already a star. She's already incredible. So over with the crowd. Everyone loves her. And yeah, I think Naomi's run's gonna be short and sweet, and she drops it in Paris.
Yeah, and definitely, like I said, if you guys follow us on Instagram, we always, or YouTube, I guess too, we'll have the Clash of Paris predictions up at some point once we have the full match card, full everything. I think one or two matches confirmed, or I think one match confirmed, but
Hmm.
technically two if you count the match we'll tell later. But moving on to one of the, I think, best matches we've seen in like a while. Obviously, we saw this match, the TLC match. We saw a little bit of it on SmackDown like a couple months ago, but the one at SummerSlam was definitely way better than the SmackDown one.
Hmm.
Lots of moments, lots of tables broken, lots of teams involved. Obviously, how did you feel about this match? And right before we talk about the winner of the match,
Well, I thought this match was incredible. I think it was a night stealer. You know, every team, all six teams, kind of had their moment to shine. Nobody felt weaker than the other ones. You know, I think DIY had some of the best performances. Obviously, we saw Candice LeRae take that huge spot where she fell from the ladder through the perched up ladder. I hope she's okay. And then we saw DIY take that huge splash through four tables on the side of the ring. And then we like had those other spots where there was like four tables propped up on each side of the ring where there was like this awesome like these individual spots going on. Great camera work too. But even in the in-ring action was amazing. You know, we saw Champa, you know, he was hanging from the top, and then he was like, it was incredible. Just everything all together, such an amazing match.
And yeah, just a question I had on here. Was keeping the title on the Y at 6 like a smart move?
I see why they gave them the belt. Personally, my prediction was wrong. I had Andrade and Phoenix winning here, or my second guess was Fraxium. I actually didn't have the Wyatts retaining, but I guess it does make sense because like I guess taking the belt off of them would have maybe made them seem weaker, even though they could have lost them without even taking a pin or anything. Like if another team just grabbed them, like that's not them technically losing. But yeah, I guess them keeping it's okay. I just don't know where they go without it kind of getting stale, you know. In my opinion, the Wyatts tend to get a bit stale after a while. I feel like because they're kind of like rinse and repeat a little bit, in my opinion. They kind of come out and do the same thing every week. So hopefully we find a way to make them feel more, you know, more alive, more good, more great, and more entertaining. So I'm interested now. They have my interest to kind of see where they go with it, and I hope they can kind of build around the tag team division with them. And obviously, we know like every team is like ganging up to kind of have the Wyatts lose. Nobody wants to face the Wyatts one on one, so I think we might see some more of that, or maybe we even get another one of these type ladder matches, or maybe another type of I don't even know another stipulation put on a match where all the teams are involved. But hopefully we find another way to do it, and I think the Wyatts are gonna probably lose the belts, maybe at Paris if they have a match there.
Yeah, and I mean, I was on a lot of different. I was on a pre-show. I think I mentioned at some point. I think the reason Triple H put the tag team belts on them on the first place was to keep them kind of or to make them relevant because for a long time there's a period where they weren't showing a lot, besides the little clips we got during SmackDown. But now that I mean, going into this match, I mean, I had them losing as well. I didn't see a reason for them to have the titles past this match, but obviously they
Mhm.
won. Triple H has some sort of path he wants them to go on. This is that SmackDown tag team division. I wish, I honestly wish we could kind of send some guys over to Raw because the Raw tag team division's terrible at the moment.
Yeah,
Maybe even send in one or two teams, then I think we'd be fine on both shows as far as the tag team divisions go. But yeah, I'm definitely curious what they do with the Wyatt Six now. Lots of different tag teams they could go against. They usually, as far as Clash goes, I don't know. They usually don't have tag team title matches for some reason on the PLEs. Usually it's like the SmackDown before, the Raw before. They love doing that to us. So I mean, I could see them defending right before the Clash pay per view or PLE, and yeah, we'll see on Friday if they start a new storyline. If we see all those tag teams that we saw at SummerSlam come down to the ring and confront them. But moving on to the Intercontinental title match, Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. Now, before we even talk about the match, I mean, I think AJ had one of his top entrances. Obviously, homage to Eddie Guerrero coming out in the lowrider with his son. That honestly kind of looks like a mini Dominic Mysterio. So I liked that kind of
Yeah.
little thing they did. Um, Obviously, AJ Styles, he mentioned before SummerSlam too that this could potentially be one of his final SummerSlams. He announced that on the not the pre-show, but the show they did, like I think on Friday. He announced that it could be his last event.
Hmm.
But as of right now, um, I think the match itself was great. I love how they kind of throughout the match was like homages to Eddie Guerrero pretty much the whole time. Even Dominic Mysterio with the loosening his um, shoe and then taking it off, or AJ Styles taking it off kind of after he had him in that submission move. Then
Hmm.
we see the ref get distracted for 2 seconds and, um, takes out AJ Styles with the boot, and that's all she wrote for that. And I just want your thoughts on this match. I mean, I think it could have been better, it could have been worse. I think that the whole point was kind of to make it a homage to Eddie Guerrero, but what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the match was fine. I thought it was good. I think it was a good homage to Eddie. AJ had the nice gear on the pants. He had the shoes with that was all the same that Eddie wore during the match with Ray. But we saw on Raw last night AJ tell Dom that he's coming back for him. So I do think that we're gonna run this match back, and I think during that match we're gonna get AJ Styles actually putting on the great performances that we know we can, a longer, more in-depth match, and I think AJ is gonna beat Dom here, and he's gonna take the IC title.
Yeah, and I like how you said that because my theory kind of with this title is obviously I know Dominic Mysterio. I don't really know much about the new kind of. I know he's fighting on. I think it's like called Triple Mania. I don't know
Yep,
what kind
Triple
of
Mania.
title. I don't follow that, but um, he has the triple threat over there. I could see him easily winning that. Having two belts, they love Dominic Mysterio. Um, and yeah, like you said, Dom's now being hunted by AJ. We saw it last night after his match. AJ ran down and got a couple hits in.
Hmm.
But as of right now, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this theory, but I think they're trying to put that belt on AJ Styles specifically for potentially John Cena's last match, potentially being against AJ Styles. The only
Hmm.
title that John doesn't have on his resume is the Intercontinental Championship. So I think at some point, if they put it on AJ, I think AJ could be John Cena's final, opponent in WWE.
Yeah. I don't know if they would do it as his final opponent, because like in that case, Cena might retire with the belt. Um, or maybe he'll just like win it and then technically he's had it, so he vacates it. But I think that is a good theory. I definitely did have Cena versus AJ on my bingo card for one of Cena's matches here. So hopefully we do see that. And they've obviously put on bangers in the past. So Cena versus AJ definitely would want to see that again, and him with the IC belt. Obviously, like you said, the one title that Cena has never won, making him Grand Slam if he wins that. So that's just a great send off for Cena.
Yeah, and obviously, there's a lot more story to tell with AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio within these next coming weeks, whether the match is on or the rematch is at Clash or another PLE. I know Clash is only gonna have about like 6 matches and technically 5 at this point because we already have one confirmed. So I don't know who's gonna make that card, who's not, but definitely looking forward to it. And I'm hoping AJ Styles, with this being he hasn't really said it's gonna be his last year, but he's kind of been hinting at he's gonna be retiring after
Hmm.
this year, or not after this year, but maybe like middle of next year.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, AJ, I'd love to see him win a championship one more time, especially with Dominic Mysterio being young. He can really afford to take a loss or drop the title. And yeah, Dominic Mysterio obviously has a huge future too. He's a great star. He's kind of fan reactions. People are starting to like him way better than they did before. They used to not even let him talk on a mic. Now, I still like that, but it's a little better. At least he
Yeah.
gets chaired now. But moving on to a match I had you know low expectations for. I mean, I Becky Lynch obviously beating Lyra for the women's Intercontinental title, and
Hmm.
now we know that Lyra cannot challenge for the Intercontinental Championship.
Hmm.
The one thing I'll say is I like Lyra in the ring, but I think she makes a lot of mistakes, and one of them, I think during the match, there was a moment where she was in the zip ties. They made like that storyline where she was in the zip ties for the huge portion of the match, but at one point, I think she completely just broke out. Then she had to put it back on, and being in a stadium with like 50, 60,000 people, however many people that were in that building, they never give us the real amount. But um, I think it's a smart decision keeping it on Becky Lynch. I know I was on a couple pre-shows where they said that it's smart to have Becky Lynch with the championship, just because Lyra's kind of new. Obviously, she still makes those small mistakes, but now we have Becky Lynch as champion, and um, before we kind of get into what this championship, I really like it being on her now that Lyra can't challenge for it, I guess you should say. But how did you feel with this match before we talk about kind of the future of that championship and division?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think the match was fine. No DQ. They did use a lot of stuff. It was outside. I kind of did like the zip tie spot. It kind of reminded me, if you remember, when she put her over the ring post and had hit it with a kendo stick. It reminded me of that Cena and Orton match that they had back in like '09. So I think that was pretty cool. But I think it was a great idea to keep the belt on Becky here. Obviously, we have a Bailey having interference. She comes out and stuff, and she thinks like Lyra blames Bailey for losing the belt and all that jazz. And then we see on Raw last night they kind of have like a breakup session where Lyra yells at Bailey. It says to stay away from me. I don't want you to be around anymore. So I think from now on out we kind of go down the line of with we kind of go down the line of Bailey getting involved with Becky. I think they're going to have a match or two here. But I still see Becky holding on to this belt even through all those matches, and I don't know if Lyra's gonna like get involved. I know she can't challenge for it, but maybe she'll like interfere some way or another. So hopefully we get some good storytelling with that.
And yeah, before this match even started, I know there was a lot of people online kind of critiquing Triple H's, you know, storytelling with this Intercontinental Championship, because he was kind of doing the same rematches between Becky Lynch and Lyra for like months. Obviously, this being their like third or fourth time seeing each other in the ring. I like how they're finally starting to turn, the tables a little bit. We saw Nikki Bella obviously come down. She's gonna be Becky Lynch's not next opponent, because next week, but um, there is storytelling there. They were both just going after each other with Becky Lynch bringing up Cena, which I feel like happens every other Nikki Bella promo that she does. Cena gets brought up. Same thing with Cena when he's in the ring with somebody. Nikki Bella usually gets brought up, but Becky Lynch kind of just throwing jabs. And she
Hmm.
even threw a jab about Nikki Bella's clips from the new Happy Gilmore getting cut out. So
Oh yeah.
obviously trying to promote Netflix specials as much as they can, but I'm excited to see Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. I don't know when that's going to be. Um, can you remind me who? I know Becky Lynch has a match next week. I know it's not against who is she going against?
Maxine Dupree.
Yeah, because I saw that short segment, but I think I missed who she was even fighting. But yeah, I can see her going through her. Becky
Hmm.
Lynch, I think, is going to hold this championship for a while. I wouldn't mind, seeing Nikki Bella win. She's obviously not been in a lot of feuds lately. I think she was supposed to have a huge one with Liv Morgan, but obviously with the injuries and everything that happened with Liv Morgan, they kind of had to kind of squash those plans. But I like how they're starting to
Yeah.
finally roll the whales on the Intercontinental Championship after like months of it kind of being in the same kind of couple feuds. But now we have Bailey, like you said, splitting up with Lyra. I don't know what's next for Lyra at this point.
Hmm.
Who do you think? Who do you think they do? You think they put Lyra versus Bailey and kind of start that as its own separate feud now that Becky's kind of involved with Nikki Bella, or do you think Bailey kind of stays in the Becky feud and maybe interferes when she faces Nikki Bella?
I think I think they're all gonna kind of stay in the same vortex for a little bit. I could see Bailey coming out and causing something, and I could honestly see Lyra coming out as well. Like obviously she can't challenge, but maybe like Lyra comes out and kind of attacks Bailey out of nowhere. Maybe we even get a Lyra heel turn here, which would be insane. But like if we have Lyra just like attacking Bailey from behind, being like, why do you keep costing people these matches? Like obviously, if she comes out and maybe cost Nikki Bella the match, and then Lyra comes out just like for her defense here. Um, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if they're gonna build bigger things up for Lyra. Maybe they put her into a whole other feud, but I definitely do see Lyra and Bailey having another match. Obviously, they've had their match in the past, but maybe they even have something that's kind of like a qualifying match. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna bend the rules, do some crazy things, but I actually have no idea here.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm glad they're finally starting to move the Intercontinental Championship for the woman at least a little bit. All we need is for the United States Championship to kind of do the same thing, which I'm hoping Triple H does. Um, as of late, though, I think Triple H is making some pretty good moves, so I'm excited to see where we're headed with these, you know, um, I guess you can say middle tier belts for the woman. But
Hmm.
kind of moving on to a match that I don't want to say was the worst. Well, actually, I will say it was kind of. I didn't really like this match, but Solo Sikoa obviously taking out Jacob Fatu in a steel cage match, which I only say this was the worst match just because I don't know. I feel like there wasn't a lot of huge, moments. I guess you can say. I mean, we saw that Jacob moonsault off the top, but that was after the match, which I don't really understand why they did that. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm calling it the worst match. I don't know about you, but how did you feel about this match and obviously the winner being Solo?
Yeah, I also agree with you. I think this was the worst match of both nights. I did not like the how Solo won. I did not like the finish at all. I don't like how he just like left the cage. I know we had the interference like after we had like Big Jim come out. He locks Jacob in there with JC Mateo and Tala Tonga. Um, but I mean, no, not Tonga. It was Tongaloa. But I don't really like how I don't know. I feel like it was kind of boring. I feel bad saying that. Steel cage matches are always like the same. They don't mean anything. There's always going to be interference and all that. But um, I hope they do something different now. This Bloodline story, even though they have a different name now, they're called MFT. I know that they're trying to go away from the whole Bloodline thing, but it's still the old Bloodline. So hopefully they can do something different. Hopefully Jacob Fatu can go into bigger and better things. Like hopefully he's done with Solo, and hopefully he goes on to something else. But I'm guessing they're not. I'm guessing that they're gonna just stay right here and run it back even more. But I really don't know what they do from now on. Like we said, maybe war games. Maybe we get another Bloodline war games. We have this MFT versus like Jacob Fatu, Jimmy, and whoever else they have on their team. But I just hope from here until November they can kind of build something that's worth sinking our teeth into, something that we can really enjoy.
Yeah, and I think one of the main issues, at least with the Bloodline storylines, I think Triple H is, I mean, these I think it's just too late to add in all these new members. I mean, last year we had, Sami Zayn, Jay, Roman, and Jimmy all teamed up to take out Solo's team. I think that's where it should have, ended, but then they obviously
Mhm.
they saw the Jacob turn. It kind of had to happen, but I feel like Triple H is just kind of dragging this bloodline story little bit too far. I don't even consider it like a bloodline story, even though because that JC Mateo is not even technically part of the bloodline, I should say. But I just don't like the idea of dragging on storylines. I mean, at this point, Sammy, Jay are doing their own things on Raw.
Yeah.
Jimmy's involved, which I don't think Jimmy should really be involved in that anymore. I think Jimmy's kind of they kind of just kept Jimmy over there just to have Jacob have a partner. But um, are you I guess I should say, how do you feel about Triple H kind of dragging this bloodline storyline a little bit too long?
Um, it's kind of like it's kind of like one of those graphs. You know the graphs where it's like a steady decline. That's what I kind of feel like is happening
Yeah,
right now. I feel like the my interest level is really going down. You know, like them introducing new members, obviously the newest being Tala Tonga. Um, I don't know what their goal is. Obviously, this Anawahi family, JC Mateo, like you said, it's not even in the actual family, but I don't know like what they see happening. Obviously the OG bloodline, that original group, Roman, Jimmy, Jay, Sammy, even put when Solo debuted, that was an era. Like that was incredible. If you remember, that was incredible. But like now it's just really gotten dry. Like Roman's not even involved anymore. Jay is not even involved. Jimmy's not like, well, I guess Jimmy's involved. He's like helping Jacob. But like it's really lost all of its life from me. It kind of feels like they're just trying anything to keep it afloat here. Fans obviously love Jacob, but I just feel like they should let these members like do their own thing. But like I was gonna say, they don't do their own thing. The only reason why JC Mateo, like Tala Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, all of them, they're only there for the story. They don't have any other character development. They don't have any other plot, any other story going on. So maybe if they like explore more out into that, that would be kind of cool. But like now that we're in this vortex again, I just really don't know. I don't know what their end goal is.
Yeah, and like you said, that the issue with bringing in new, members, I guess you should say, into the bloodline group, MFT, whatever you want to call them. Like you said, their only main purpose is pretty much just to fight within the family itself and not really to do their own things, which I think is a
Mhm.
huge issue because they're one of like the main, I, they're like the main group, I guess you should say, of SmackDown, and seeing them fight every week, I think is gonna start getting really stale if they continue going down this road, which I think they are.
Mhm.
Um, Especially
I
with
agree.
Jacob, Jacob's too talented to be kind of just stuck in the same feud. Jimmy as well. I'm hoping somehow Jimmy ends up on Raw because I think he would fit in this little storyline with I honestly think it makes sense to kind of reunite the Usos at some point, which I know they said they were going to do soon. I'm hoping it's sooner than we think. But
Yeah.
knowing Triple H, we're going to walk in a Survivor Series with somehow another bloodline, it's not even called a civil war at this point. I think it's just MFTs versus Jacob, Jimmy, and whoever else. Yeah, which I at the moment I don't even know who you could add. So we
Mm-hmm.
know Roman's not going in that storyline. We know Jay isn't either. That's more, at least Roman and Jay stand right now in that Seth Rollins little feud. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's ultimately going. Jay and Roman are going to be a part of. I think we saw a little glimpse of it last night with Knight, Punk, and Roman. I don't know if they're going to team those two together, three together, but definitely looking forward to it. As far as the bloodline goes, like we said, I hope they turn Jacob into a new direction. But like I said, like we said, I don't think they're gonna change anything,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see more Solo versus Jacob matches with maybe they're probably gonna
Not
add in a
really.
new member from the bloodline because I mean the Samoan tree is like huge. They can just add whoever they want. Soon, more than half the roster is probably just gonna be Samoan from that family. So, um, but as far as this goes, we moved on to I think the main event of night two, which
Oh
was
my god.
probably one of the best or the best match of Cena's retirement tour that we've seen so far,
Mm-hmm.
which is honestly sad that we kind of wasted a solid like 5 or 6 months of, or like I guess you could say, what is it, August? So they wasted like 6, 7 months of Cena's, retirement tour on a hail run that The Rock started when it didn't
Oh my god.
wasn't working clearly. They kept it going, but now Cena's obviously back to being a face, which I know a lot of us thought was kind of skeptical going into SummerSlam, but as we finally saw his intro back,
Oh my
his rundown
god.
with Stu the cameraman. Um, it was amazing. Obviously, the match itself was amazing. Lots of great spots. We saw Cody and Cena going at it in the ring, outside the ring, in the crowd. We even saw, I think, one of the coolest moments was when they used Cody's entrance elevator, kind of with Cena having Cody on his shoulders. I think that was a
Mm-hmm.
cool moment. I think there was a lot of streams I saw that they thought, maybe The Rock would come out of there with Cena, but I'm glad it wasn't The Rock. It was Cena with Cody. Um, and I liked the kind of story they were telling with kind of Cena kicking out of like 8 um, Cody finishers crossroads and Cody kicking out of like 8 attitude adjustments. I think they were telling a kind of a good story that we have Super Cena, but now we have Super Cody, I guess you can call it. They were kicking out of
Yeah.
everything with the finish. Obviously, Cody having a nice salute to Cena before ultimately taking him out. But what were your general thoughts on this match, and before we kind of talk about the future?
Yeah. I thought this match was incredible. I thought it was, oh my god. The first 5 minutes was better than the Mania match, in my opinion. This match was awesome. It checked off everything we wanted. It was physical, it was brutal, it was emotional, it was entertaining. It was just an all-around phenomenal match. Like you said, we had them in the ring, outside the ring, in the audience, on the stage. They went all around, and both men just looked really strong. They seemed like two supercomputers trying to just outmaneuver each other. You had, like you said, you had Cena kicking out of all the crossroads. He was, I believe, the first person to kick out of 3 crossroads in a row. That's always like how Cody wins. And Cena kicked out. He Cody kicked out of an avalanche AA from like the second rope. They were just kicking out of everything. And normally I'm not a big fan of like finisher fest, but this just worked. Like we all know Super Cena is a thing. We all know in the past that's who he was, and we all loved it. And Cody is that next guy that's gonna be, like Triple H said. He's the future GOAT. He's the guy that's working his way up there. So it's just good to see how they were able to put on such an amazing match. They have incredible chemistry with one another, and I love how we saw glimpses of heel Cody in here. We saw things that he wouldn't normally do, like him taking the ring apart, hitting Cena with like the turnbuckle, the metal piece of it. He was just kind of like he was kind of brutal in a way that we didn't really think he would be. He's normally the guy who kind of holds back. He's like the baby face, but this time, like Cody was not gonna hold back. He Cena wanted the best version of Cody, and Cody wanted the best version of Cena, and that's what we got. And it was magical. And I believe, like we said, we were talking in our little wrestling group chat that we think this could be a top 10 Cena match of all time. Just how entertaining and great it was. Cena was looking like 2015 Cena again. Like it seems like he hasn't lost anything. So it was really, really entertaining. And hopefully we get more, of this John Cena throughout the rest of his retirement tour.
Yeah, and just before we, talk about the Brock Lesnar return, obviously, um, just something I kind of wanted to point out. I think this was kind of the first Cody match in a while there was no interruptions. It was just a straight just match with lots of huge spots, moments,
Yep.
and I kind of liked those after the fact. No interruptions. Finally, we saw Cody have a great moment with Cena after the match where Cena hands him the title. Cody's kind of like apologizing, kind of like a Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair moment. Cody
Hmm.
obviously, crying because taking out, Cena is kind of like a huge thing. Obviously, he's on his retirement tour. Cody knows there's only like a couple months left to Cena, so having a match against him and winning must have been huge for him, huge moment. I know Cody's had a lot of huge moments, but taking out Cena at this point, I think, is a huge accomplishment for Cody himself.
Yep.
Um, and my question now would be probably we know Cody's going to make movies, but obviously he's the champion. I think he's gonna kind of do something where maybe and I know he's gonna miss time, but I don't think he's gonna miss like as much time. Like maybe he films and um, does wrestling shows. Cody's a workhorse. I know we've seen he doesn't miss a ton of time, so I think we'll see him a lot. What do you think the path is for Cody?
Well, I think that we're definitely gonna have Cody appearing more often than obviously Roman. I think he's gonna make appearances at like SmackDowns, or even like vignettes that he has, or he just comes on to know that he's still there. Like Cody is the champion. I know that kind of doesn't mean a lot because Roman was the champion. He went on like really long hiatuses, but Cody, like you said, he's a workhorse. He always has been. He's there week in, week out. So I really do think he's going to be making some appearances at SmackDowns, or I had another prediction where they do write Cody off in a way that we'll probably get into when we talk about the Brock Lesnar return. That I kind of want to get into it with you.
Perfect. So yeah, obviously after the match, we saw Cena as always. What he's been doing in every arena, pretty much, is he's in the ring. They cut his music. The fan chants, "Thank you, Cena," and obviously, I think a lot of us knew someone was coming at this point. They were kind of dragging it along.
Hmm.
Obviously, people point out all the time that whenever you see a cameraman facing the stage, someone's going to come out. Whether honestly, Brock Lesnar wasn't really a thought. I mean, for me at least, it was more. I thought it was going to be The Rock, to be honest, but I'm glad it was Brock Lesnar. Obviously, lots of different people's opinions on Brock Lesnar returning. Obviously, he's got a lot of stuff going on outside of the ring, but inside of the ring is kind of all I care about at this point.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, this new feud, as Triple H said, Cena requested Brock Lesnar as one of the people he wanted to face, which I think that would be true, just because Brock Lesnar is like a huge part of Cena's history and feuds, and I'm glad we finally get to see another Lesnar versus Cena match. But how do you feel personally about Lesnar's return and what it means for Cena?
Hmm. Yeah, we all know that there is the stuff outside of the ring that's going on with Lesnar and all that stuff. But right now we need to focus on on what's going on with Cena. I know it's questionable. I don't know what is going to happen with that. I haven't dove super deep into it personally. But all I can say is that when I saw him return, I popped like crazy. I was not expecting it. I was also expecting The Rock to return. I thought he was going to come out and be all mad at Cena and kind of hit him with like, hit him with a rock bottom, people's elbow, all that. Be for him, going against him and turning face and all that and losing the belt to Cody. Um, but I do agree that this was probably a personal request for Cena. I definitely do think he probably asked Triple H if we anyway they could get Brock Lesnar in for a match with him. But the thing that I'm thinking about is, does Brock stay? Does he stay with the company after this? Because obviously he's from Minneapolis, and next year they announced that's where they're having SummerSlam. So do you think Lesnar stays in the company for a full year again, and that's where he has the retirement match? Like maybe they finally run him versus Gunther there, the match everyone's been saying, or like do they do something else? So I don't know. I want to hear what you got to say about that.
I mean, my issue right now would probably be obviously Brock Lesnar's got his personal things going on. He was obviously sole reason he's back at this point is to face Cena.
Hmm.
Whether once this feud's finished, whether it's one match, two matches, I couldn't see it going past two. But I don't know exactly if they're gonna have Brock Lesnar stay, especially with the controversy surrounding him. I know I haven't looked into it too much, like you said, but I know he is in a lot of controversy still, court things, legal trouble.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I would like to see him go against Gunther, Braun Breaker. I just don't know. Like I said, his only sole purpose for returning was to, I think, face Cena. Whether they
Hmm.
keep him or after this feud, maybe we won't see him for a little bit, and then he does have a match in Minneapolis because 2 nights of WrestleMania you can do a lot of different things with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could see him staying. I just don't know. Triple H usually listens to the fans with a lot of different things, and obviously the fan opinion right now are all over the place with having Lesnar in the company. But I'd like to see
Hmm.
him stay as long as he gets his legal stuff figured out, squared out. I
Hmm.
think they said regarding his legal cases that the WWE cleared him. I think 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what they cleared him of, but I know there's still lots of things going on. But I mean, I'd like to see him stay. There's a lot of good matches they can play on,
Hmm.
but I guess we'll have to see. I wouldn't mind seeing him, um, in the business. But I know you mentioned it slightly earlier, when we talked about what happened with Cody. Do you see Cody kind of intertwining with Brock a little bit? Obviously,
Yes.
Brock being his last, or Brock being Cody's last opponent, I guess, 2 years ago, which is kind of crazy on that SummerSlam card. But how do you see them kind of intertwining, maybe even as early as Friday, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I actually had a fantasy book in my mind that I came up with. I was thinking about um is, what if, because Cody is probably going to be there on Friday again, and Cena is going to be there. they announced that he's gonna talk about everything that happened at SummerSlam, everything with Brock. So what if Cena is there and then Brock comes out and Cody comes to like Cena's rescue because like Brock beats him up and then Cena like Cody gets heavily assaulted by Brock. He gets like F5'd, put in the Gamora lock, all this stuff. And that's the way they write off Cody off TV. But that also upsets Cena to the point where he wants to avenge Cody. Him being the face now that he is, he wants to help avenge Cody, which then would ultimately lead to their match at Clash in Paris.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I know, like I mentioned earlier, I think that's one of the matches they want to put on the Clash card. It's the obviously Brock versus Cena, with
Mhm.
Cena only having 12 technical scheduled dates left. Um, but yeah, I could see that. Because we have seen Cody get assaulted by Brock before. 2 years ago, after Mania, he got assaulted by Brock. Brock Lesnar, um, tends to remember things. Maybe he remembers that Cody took him out at SummerSlam 2 years ago, takes him out. I just don't know if that's going to be what the story is with Cody missing time.
Mhm.
There's lots of different ways they can go about that, depending on how much time Cody actually misses. But I wouldn't be surprised if they had Brock injure him. Um,
Yeah.
but either way, they kind of have the Cena Brock kind of feud started already, with obviously Brock F5ing Lesnar. I think we'll see Lesnar on Friday as well. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of star power on Friday. We have Cena, Cody, Brock. I would assume would be there. I don't know. I kind of hope Cena opens the show because that's usually what they like to do.
Me too.
Um, but kind of with a lot of different stars taking a lot of different paths. I kind of want to talk about one guy who, I mean, he kind of has a path now, kind of doesn't, but kind of Jay Uso, because I feel like Jay right now is kind of in a tough spot because obviously Seth Rollins is, looks to be facing CM Punk and LA Knight at Clash. I mean, obviously you could have Jay go against Bronson Reed, you could have him go against Braun Breaker. We've seen him go against Braun Breaker like a bunch of times now.
Yeah.
What do you think they're gonna have the path be for Jay now? Because I don't think he's missing time, but I don't know how they use him at this point.
Yeah, I don't know either. I really don't. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think Jay gets any more title shots. I think he's done in the title picture. Personally, what I would love to see, like after this Roman thing, Roman's gonna be taking time off. I would love them to just pull the trigger and bring Jimmy over to Raw, and then they put the Usos back together. I don't I would love to see that happen early instead of having Jay just in this like endless solo run, because together like Jimmy's over, Jay's over. This would be like the biggest form of the Usos. Obviously, we've seen them team before on one-offs, but them actually coming back together as the Usos, that would just be awesome in my opinion. And like we said, the tag team division is dead on Raw. It's really, really not good right now. So if they were to go after the titles of the Judgment Day and all that stuff, I think that could be really entertaining.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Jimmy reunite with Jay. Obviously, WWE right now is putting Jay in, probably they put him in tough spots. I feel like a lot. He had that short title run, but I'm excited to see where he goes at this point. I know he's still going to be involved in the set storyline, but maybe not as much. But just another question I kind of had before we kind of start to wrap things up is, after the SummerSlam 2 night event, there was reports that they're trying to make both the Rumble maybe in 2027 and the Elimination Chamber 2 nights, which I would understand if they make the Elimination Chamber 2 nights, but I don't really like the idea of making the Royal Rumble 2 nights just because I mean I can see Triple H's vision a little bit, like maybe put the women's one on one night and put the men's one on another night. But how do you feel about kind of these 2 night events as far as, I think it works for Mania and SummerSlam, but I don't really think it works for PLEs like Survivor Series and the Rumble.
Yeah, I think they should just stick to it being with Mania and SummerSlam. I don't really think they have to milk it out to put it like all on these. Well, I know how the biggest events are Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Rumble, but other than that, like I don't really see other PLEs having the reason to. Like I do understand the Rumble if they were to do that. That would be pretty cool if each show was main evented by each respected Rumble. One night can be main evented by the men's, and then the other one can be main evented by the women's. That would be pretty cool to see. Or they could even have like a totally men's show and a totally women's show one night. That would be a pretty cool way for them to do it. Other than that, like I don't really see another reason other than it being a money grab. Let's be real. Them just wanting to get more money from the things. This first 2 night SummerSlam, I have to admit, was very, very, very successful in my eyes. I think it was incredible, and I do love seeing it going forward. But the other nights, the other PLEs, it just really does not seem necessary in my eyes.
Yeah, and like you said, the 2 night thing is, obviously to make more money for the company. Obviously, TKOs. I think they're trying to make some like the Royal Rumble. I think they were telling the 2 night maybe debuting in 2027. Hope Triple H kind of sees that might not work. Besides, if you're trying to make money, that would obviously work because they would love to make the tickets like cheapest tickets like 400 or $500 to sit in the nosebleeds of a stadium, which I never understand why you would pay that much to watch there, but I guess it's part of the experience. But I wouldn't personally do it. But yeah, we got lots of content to make on this channel. Lots of different PLEs coming up. Something I'm gonna try to do at least on maybe Twitch for people that are watching. I'm gonna hopefully set up some live reactions maybe of Raw, SmackDown, PLEs whenever I can do that. Sometimes I don't have the time to watch, the shows at the time that they're on at. But for everyone that was watching, like I said, listening to us, we are still 10 subs away. I'm pretty sure I haven't checked from 100 subs on YouTube. Make sure to drop a sub. It takes like 3 seconds. Leave a like on our pages. We're most active right now on Instagram, like I said at the beginning. That's where you'll find a lot of our content at because I like posting clips there.
Hmm.
Interviews there, you'll see it all. Obviously, the YouTube's where everything's posted. We have lots of stuff coming up, whether it's interviews coming up, PLE reviews, content predictions. We love collabing with people. So if you want to collab with us, just hit us in our DMs. We see pretty much every message that's sent to us. So if you want to send us a message, Instagram's the place to do it. But for everyone watching, whether it was on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, hopefully you'll see us do this a lot more. We
Yep.
kind of experimented, but it was obviously a great time. Um, for everyone watching, make sure to, of course, follow us on our socials. Like I said, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Obviously, gonna start using Twitch a lot more to experiment with that. But it's over the top talk everywhere. You can find podcasting, and we will catch you all in the next one. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone
guys.
who watched and tuned in, and we'll see you on the next live stream we do, or next video, I guess I should say.